Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine of Behind the Markets. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, August 11th. And you know what? This might be the biggest story that anybody on earth is not talking about. The biggest story that's not being told. And there is nothing I love more in business, in this business, than when we are covering and talking about the biggest story that's not being told. Everyone has been talking about autonomous vehicles. We know that's a big story. Everybody, that's a big story. But the understory that's going to really drive, in my view, the next push, the next real breakthrough in the AV story happens this year with the Nvidia Thor chip. And what makes it so powerful is that it's really designed for what's called level 4 autonomy, meaning that it can fully power autonomous systems with no human oversight. Again, that depends on where it's legal, but can actually do that. And that you got to compare that to what's on the market. Right now, cars need 4, 5, 6, many more even, separate chips for advanced driver assistance, infotainment. You think about all the instrument clusters, rear seat infotainment, if you have one of those types of cars also, all of it. But when you just think about the challenges of driver assistance alone, I don't know if you have been in a Tesla or Mercedes or Porsche or any of these fancy cars that have basically driver assistance or autonomous vehicles. There's a lot of stuff going on, okay? First of all, you have cameras, visual and infrared cameras. You have LiDAR, laser depth mapping. You have radar for velocity and distance. You have ultrasonics for close range. So you have all these kind of this stack to process the surroundings, people walking on the street, lights changing, other cars coming. There's a lot of stuff that is being processed, and they have all been processed by individual chips before. But now this Thor chip, it's actually going to do all of it. Now, here's the interesting part, and this is the part of the story that I'm so happy to be talking about because nobody's really talking about this. The supplier, we're going to talk about in tomorrow's webinar, is really sharing the workload. Nvidia did something very interesting here. They took a CPU, a central processing unit, from this supplier, and is actually the supplier actually provides the CPU that manages operating system tasks, sensor synchronization, and decision logic, while NVIDIA's GPU, their graphic processing unit, processes for perception and object detection. So it's almost like a little computer itself that has a CPU from this supplier that nobody knows about, and NVIDIA's GPU. So its own little computer. And again, the CPU chip is processing all the decisions and the logic and synchronization, making sure everything talks to each other, while NVIDIA's stuff is processing what is a GPU, a graphics processing unit process, but all the environment, the mapping and all that stuff. Now, listen, this is why we have a situation where this whole autonomous vehicle game is about to take off. There have been two major bottlenecks in the past 2 years that have stopped this from exploding so far. One of them have been just the chips problem, the processing problem. Too many chips, not fast enough. They're all different chips trying to talk to each other. Again, too many chips, not fast enough. That was bottleneck number one, gone. Bottleneck number two, data centers. Remember, this is pulling, there's a lot of data that has to be happening both in the car itself and also pulling for object recognition and a bunch of other things. So that is over now. Those two big bottlenecks are now really over. This is why Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, calls this a $50 trillion market. There's no doubt about it. And just to give you one number, there are 2.3 billion vehicles on the road around the world, and of which the United States has about 360 million. In 10 years, okay, 10 years, 30% of those vehicles are going to have fully autonomous capability. That's 690 million cars that are going to be fully autonomous, that are going to have that capacity. And it all starts with this new NVIDIA Thor chip. Now, what's really interesting, again, is that what's unique about this chip is that it is using the CPU from this really little known supplier. And I don't think that's a story that has been told, which is why we are going to talk about it tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the webinar, because I think this is one of the big stories that is not being told that people just don't understand. So anyway, that's all I have for this Monday. I will see you and speak to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.